Guys, my daughter Danielle D'Souza Gill is here visiting and in studio, and also pregnant, due in July. This is going to make Debbie and me into grandparents. And in fact, we are giving some intense thought to our grandparent names. If you have any suggestions for a grandparent name for me, I'd like to hear it, but no weird ideas, please. There's not going to be any gender reveals on the show. And Danielle, tell why.
Well, because I don't know the gender, so I'm going to find out when the baby's born and be surprised. And the baby will not choose their gender. It will be established gender.
Are you saying it'll be established by biology and destiny,
yes,
and
exactly.
not by personal inclination?
I will find out, and everyone else will find out once the baby's born.
Yeah. I guess this idea of finding out about which gender it is, it used to be that a lot of people wouldn't know. And I suppose in old times it was like that by necessity. But apparently your doctor told you that these days, almost everybody does know.
Everybody wants to know as soon as possible. And I think with technology, it used to be that, you'd find out around 20 weeks when they did the big ultrasound. But now you can do blood work and find out even earlier. So a lot of people usually know from the very beginning and just like make their plan for a boy or girl. But no, not me.
Now, what was the reason for you and Brandon deciding to kind of go not the agnostic route, but go the route of, hey, we'll just stay in suspense? Because obviously your planning is a little easier if you do know.
Yeah, some people ask me that. They'll say, how do you know what outfits to get them? How do you know how to decorate the room and stuff like that? But I didn't want to do it based on the decoration just to find out. But I've heard it's very special to find out in the moment, because I think when you have the birth, your spouse or you just find out the gender and it's like, it's a boy or it's a girl, and it's a very cool moment. And then also because then people are so excited the baby's there, they're not like coming up with hypothetical scenarios of, if it should be a boy or girl. Because sometimes if you, find out before, tell people, let's say you want to name it Thomas, then everyone's like, I don't like the name Thomas, or whatever it is. But if the baby's already born, you say this is Thomas, and everyone's like, oh wow, what an amazing name.
Yes, like there's already a human being in the world to be given the name.
Yeah, and of course we are pro-life, so that is a human being. But just in the sense that I think it's just more the traditional way. Most people didn't know for thousands of years what the gender was. I guess other than maybe some myths about like how high you're carrying the baby or things like that. But other than that, it's pretty much just the old-fashioned way of, find out when it pops out.
No, the people at Target are probably not going to be very happy with your decision to reject the transgender approach, because Target is apparently issued a new line of queer and transgender clothes for children. I want to italicize. And even though they've been putting this out in the front of the store because of so-called, Pride Week, the truth of it is there's a whole difference in, on the one hand, saying, okay, we endorse the idea of pride. That's problematic enough. Why are corporations getting into this kind of thing? But even if you do that, it's a different matter to push this kind of propaganda on children. Apparently, they have little girls' bathing suits, which have a spot for male genitalia, a kind of a tuck. How weird is that? And so there is a backlash that is brewing that may end up being more than the backlash on Bud Light. Now, what do you think about all this? I mean, basically, customers are seeing this in the front of the store and they're going a little berserk because they recognize that this is part of a systematic assault on children.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally disgusting. And I don't even know, it's obviously just about the woke signaling, because obviously there's no actual need to have what you mentioned on a girl's
this
outfit.
Is not a
so it's
market.
Not even about that. It's obviously just about a parent who's super liberal saying, I'm going to buy this for my kid because I want everyone to know my kid is a gender neutral, gender fluid, or supports this, even though the baby is just born and doesn't support this, I'm sure. But it's just probably just a way for the parents to show that they're super liberal. And hopefully hopefully no one buys their stuff.
Here's the Target CEO, Brian Cornell. He says that this woke capitalism is good for the brand. And he goes, it's, quote, the right thing for society. He says that this is something that Target is committed to. But guess what? The interesting news is that because of the backlash, which is only just now going, in fact, people are specifically talking about Bud Lighting Target. And the idea is Bud Light has taken a massive hit. In fact, Bud Light is now being whopped from both sides because the LGBT, as Bud Light tries to show, no, we're not, Dylan Mulvaney is not our guy. And they're now releasing very traditional ads with country music bands and so on. The LGBTQ people are going, now we hate Bud Light. So everybody hates Bud Light. And of course, a lot of other options, and similarly with Target. Initially, I was thinking, the beer drinker types are going to be more conservative. So a Bud Light boycott is going to be more effective. But now when I think about the fact that there's so many retail stores and they're so dependent on maintaining their audience, that if people begin to start fleeing Target, even 20%, 30%, it's going to be a massive blow for this chain. And the Target people know that. In fact, I just read that Target has now had an emergency meeting and they've put out the word to stores in the Midwest and the South, move the gay stuff to the back of the store. So Target is now trying to hide the fact, apparently it was gay pride. Now it's sort of gay embarrassment. So they haven't removed the products, but what they've done is relocated them, taken down the signage. Not across the country. Maybe in some places this kind of stuff is popular. But it's interesting to see that I think from the consumer side, there's now an awareness that these boycotts have real power.
Yeah, well, I also think that unfortunately, because so many companies are woke, people lose track of what companies they're supposed to boycott, where they can get something, where they can't. But I think right now the focus should just be Bud Light and Target, because otherwise people forget and then they go shop there anyways, when in reality they're doing the worst, I guess, of the other ones. So even though Walmart, for example, is, I think, liberal, they're not as bad as Target right now. So veer away from Target, head to their competitor Walmart for now, and then that way Target will learn their lesson.
I mean, here's an example of strategy. The left doesn't go after every bakery. They go after one Christian baker, right? And they don't mind if people go to other Christian bakers or to other bakers in general, because they realize it's difficult to boycott 17 people or 100 people. It's easier to attack one. You kind of gang up on this one guy, teach him a lesson, and everybody else gets the message. That's really what's going on our side now. And people go, well, you're doing the same kind of canceling that the left is doing. Exactly. Because if the left is going to engage in cancel culture, we're going to shut you down. Guess what? Two people can play at that game. So my point is that cancel culture is an effective answer to cancel culture. Just as what is an effective answer to the force employed by the criminal? The force employed by the cop. Well, in both cases, you're using force, Dinesh. Yeah, exactly. Force is needed to stop force. So the point being here, let's make an example of Bud Light. Let's make an example of Target. Let's bring these corporations to the ground, and then other people will get the message.